you're sober. Now what?
I'm excited today because we're talking about a pretty meaty topic. Like this is going to be and we're jumping around the book just in case you're wondering, what are these two doing?
Hmm.
Is that the book has been created not just to go in order necessarily.
Right.
I prefer to read that way, but there are some people that, hey, I want to learn about this. So you can go back and forth, chapter 1 to chapter 10, whatever is your jam. That is how this book has been written. So you
Hmm.
could just go wherever you'd like. So we're going to bring it back.
We're going to bring it back to chapter 1 and talk about identifying potential cross addictions.
Oh, yeah.
I like how we said potential.
They could be.
They could be, maybe. I don't know. I have a lot of these issues, Tamar. I don't know about you.
I do. I'm right there with you, Lane.
And I don't, it took me a long time. I think I was maybe, well, I was in my first relationship when I first got sober. So, and I realized I have some serious issues because I smoked cigarettes,
Oh, yeah, me too.
right? And then I ate a lot of chocolate cake and Snickers bars. So those are my three things that were looming in my life of I have some serious issues.
Yeah.
Uh,
And, I find it really interesting because I'm not afraid to talk about my sobriety today. I recover out loud.
mhm.
And often when I talk to people who don't necessarily suffer from alcoholism or drug addiction, but when I talk about cross addictions, for example, and other things that can get me in trouble,
Mhm.
I've had friends say, you know what, I never thought about it that way. But if I really think about it, like I'm probably addicted to shopping or chocolate, like they start to recognize these patterns that they have with not necessarily a substance, but it could be an activity, the
Right.
going to the gym. There's all sorts of stuff we could talk about here.
So on page 14,
Hmm.
we have some questions, some things that I want to bring up right now. And again, you could be 30 days sober or you could be 25 years sober, and these cross addictions are going to occur. So here we wrote, have you noticed yourself engaging in any new compulsive behaviors since beginning your recovery? These might include excessive shopping, gambling, eating, and so on. Do you find yourself relying on any new substance to cope with stress or emotions, such as caffeine, nicotine, prescription drugs, and the like? So I want to go back in time for a minute because this is where my chocolate cake and my cigarettes really like, again, I didn't realize that any of these things were an issue, but the word compulsive is the key word here.
Hmm.
Compulsive. I had no control over the amount of cigarettes that I was taking in after I'd stopped. And then I found myself uh, in a hotel room. My girlfriend we were on the road and she left for the show, and I was left in our hotel room. And I remember ordering room service without even thinking about it. And all I could order was chocolate cake. That's it. And it was chocolate cake. And I kept
Hmm.
ordering chocolate cake. And this is when I thought, oh my goodness, something is not quite right here. I have a problem. But then fast forward, right? Fast forward, 25, almost 30 years. And I can still, I mean, we've talked about my matcha,
Chicken strips.
your chicken strips,
Yeah.
right? These kind of sneaky behaviors. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Sneakiness, the sneakiness.
The sneakiness. So I do have a little story to share. And probably because I think a lot of people who have become sober can relate to this cross addiction is food,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I
But
first got sober, it was ice cream, right? Because I was replacing that sugar that I got from alcohol.
but people don't see this. This is what I really want our listeners to understand is
Yes.
that when you're digging into chocolate cake like I was, or ice cream, this is your addiction. This is the mental illness that we talked about back in episode 1
Yeah.
that's alive and well, my friend.
Oh, it is. And, fast forward, this
Yeah.
is probably about 7 years into my recovery. I remember I went to the store once, I went shopping and I found these little pizzas, and they were this cauliflower wheat crust with chicken, peppers. It was
Sounds
delicious.
delicious.
It was very delicious. And I'm thinking, hey, this is light. This could be a nice lunch once in a while. So I bought
Mhm.
this pizza. I ate the pizza and I was so happy with the pizza that the next day, and I was working
Mhm.
from home.
Mhm.
I'm like, I really feel like pizza for lunch.
Mm, mhm.
So I actually left on my break to go to the grocery store and buy another pizza for that day. So the
Uh-huh.
second day I had it for lunch again. It got so bad that when I went grocery shopping, sometimes I would buy 4 or 5 pizzas
Mm.
because they were also, I was calorie tracking. They were within my calories for the day.
Oh God.
And at one point, and this is where it starts, I would sneak it. I would put them downstairs in the freezer so that my partner couldn't see them, right? I just didn't want him to, see that. I went to the grocery store to go grab one because I was having a craving, and it wasn't there.
Mm.
It was all sold out. So I drove to
No.
another store.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It was all sold out.
Mhm.
4 stores, Lane, I drove to that day. So it took an hour and a half out of my day at
Mhm.
work
Mhm.
driving around to find one of these pizzas. Now, chances are I probably sold them out, right? I can recognize that because I also used to
Mhm.
order delivery, right?
Mhm.
So I wasn't
Mhm.
always in the grocery store, but it just shows you how it can sneak up on you and
Yeah.
things you'll do. And it was that day that I went to 4 different grocery stores to get this pizza for my lunch.
Mhm.
I'm like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I actually bought a different pizza
Huh.
that was awful. And I was like, I'm forcing myself to eat something right now
Mhm.
because I need this fix for my chicken
Yeah.
pizza.
Yeah.
But and that's 8 years sober.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, when you're I've never heard that story, Tamar, so
Yeah,
thank you for
it's
sharing. That's a good one. That's a really good one. And as you were telling that story, I was thinking about me when I was 5. I was living in Bangkok, so I was past my 5th year. I was into my 5th year, I think. And I was isolated, tall, blonde woman walking around, not looking like anybody else, and just not really having the community that I was used to. And so I started going to the movies.
Mm,
Have I told you the story?
I believe you have. Yeah.
Oh my God. This is so embarrassing to me. It's
Can't be
so,
can't be worse than my pizza story.
well, I just think about how degrading that was for me. So, okay, I'll tell our listener now. So I discovered popcorn with chocolate and caramel.
Oh.
So, because the Thais, they love sweet. And they would sell these bags of this chocolate, delicious caramel popcorn. And I would go from one movie theater to the next. And so recall one of these theaters did not have that popcorn. And so what do? I'm like, oh, I'm not going. So if you've ever been to Bangkok, it's not easy to get around. I mean, like from one movie theater to the next, you have to go through the street. Like it's just chaos. Get on the train, take the air. It's just a lot. That's all I'm saying. But I was so committed to this popcorn, right? This addiction to have it was just driving me. Needless to say, I put on 20 pounds and I was pretty miserable, but I was alone. I was afraid to be alone.
Hmm.
And we've talked about that in episode 2, I believe, just kind of looking underneath, what you're so afraid of and how these addictions bubble up to the surface. The good news is that I did come clean. I ended up sharing this story with somebody, and they recognized that was my addiction driving me because
Yeah.
I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
But again, this kind of behavior follows me, at least, and it follows you from what you're saying,
Hmm.
uh, into all kinds of dark, scary places.
Yeah.
Eating is so it's because we think, oh, well, you just have to eat.
Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Hmm. It can be. And that's something I think just to be aware of. Like, are you going above and beyond to get a hold of something? A lot of people can be like, oh, they don't have the pizza or the chocolate caramel. I can
Mm-hmm.
understand that. We used to have that. They no longer sell it in the theaters here either. which is probably a good thing. But
Mm.
if you find yourself going above and beyond,
Yeah.
like when I gave the example in the last episode, when I'm feeling lonely, there's times where I'm like ready to get in the car at night
Mm-hmm.
and drive 15 minutes out of the way
Mm-hmm.
to go get a pint of ice cream just to get that instant gratification.
Yeah.
Right. And that is my addiction screaming. And one thing I want to point out is that it can come in so many different ways. And what surprises a lot of people, but I think when they start to look at it, is even working out, right? It's
Yes.
like when I got sober, I'm like, I'm going to be like the epitome of health. I'm going
Yeah.
to show them how it's done. And I worked out 7 days a week and ate chicken, broccoli, and rice almost every single day for a year. That's not healthy.
And how long were you sober then?
That was my first year.
That was your first year. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But a
Yeah.
lot of you'll notice a lot
Mhm.
of people who get
Yeah.
sober go into fitness.
They swap it out. Yeah.
Right. And so, I had somebody, thank goodness, call me out on it and said, hey, you might want to take a look. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is
Mhm.
healthy. This is a healthy activity, but even I can take healthy activities and turn them into unhealthy behaviors.
Right. So we can do this with anything, is what we're trying to share with you. And
Yes.
one of the other questions that we have in here, and you can, again, in this chapter, we kind of really support you in investigating this, is that you can, here's the question. I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
The impact on your life. Is this new behavior or substance behavior for me, right, was going theater to theater, for Tamar driving
Grocery
far
store.
away, working out every day. Okay, so is this new behavior or substance affecting your daily life, relationships, work, or overall well being? Do you feel a loss of control over this new behavior or substance similar to your previous addiction? Yeah.
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 It's a big
But
yes.
but I think it takes time. I mean, this is where I want to really share with our listener, is that when I'm in that place of, popcorn, I gotta get the popcorn, I gotta get the popcorn. When I gotta get the coffee, it's
Mm-hmm.
gotta be decaf, it's gotta be oat milk, it's gotta be right. When I'm in that kind of loop, I cannot recognize it. Right. So I don't have this loss of control because I'm in control. This is such a little MF,
Yeah, it is.
right?
Yeah.
It's so tricky. So this is, again, being brutally honest with yourself. Is it affecting your daily life? And this is where it gets sneaky. Like when I looked at my bank account and what I was spending $900 a month on coffee,
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem.
Yikes.
When my husband says, you have a problem? No, I don't.
What are you talking about?
$900. When I started buying cash cards, right?
Yeah.
That's a problem.
We're
But
good at justifying.
that's the sneakiness
Yeah.
of the mental illness that we are calling alcoholism addiction.
Yeah.
Oh,
And this is
brutal.
why we had one episode solely on cross addiction, because it can lead down a very slippery slope, right? And you start one, and when those behaviors start to
Yeah.
creep up in everything you do, you're only one drink away from losing it all potentially, right? And
Right.
for some of us, it's very serious. So you got to watch those cross addictions.
And I've seen this happen with so many, and I keep going back to the food because people drink over food. They don't see it, but food is really slippery.
Yeah.
I think another really great example is spending money shopping,
Yes.
right? Amazon is really convenient and easy. And it's like, I used to go to Target. Like when I go to Target, sometimes I'm like, I can't go there because I know I'm on slippery terms. I used to have to call in and say, I'm going to Target now.
I'm on an Amazon detox as we speak,
Okay.
right?
Yes. But that's it. It's so sneaky.
It is sneaky.
So we have a little bit of an action plan for you to use. And we want to invite you to look at this chapter and kind of just go slow with this.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, this doesn't happen overnight. You don't just wake up well, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm done with that. God, wouldn't that be something? Like,
wouldn't it?
Oh my God. I think that goes back to like just this inner work that we're doing. That's what recovery is about.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between just being sober and recovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Recovery.
And it's a wonderful journey. I mean, It's hard work sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but it is so rewarding. I mean, when you learn to stop looking for that instant
Yeah.
gratification with those cross addictions and you actually see the long-term
Yeah.
goals, right? That achievement of being able to not go to the grocery store and buy all these pizzas and get down to my ideal goal weight, or not
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm wheezing if I'm going exercising, like
Mm-hmm.
that is much more rewarding in the long term than all
Mm-hmm.
these short term things that just make us feel worse.
Oh, it's not worth it, my
No, it's
friend.
not.
Oh.
Yeah,
So take your time with this chapter, come back to it. Maybe you'll have to read it and then come back to it. It's totally okay. We want to make sure that, it's a big conversation.
it is.
So download the free chapters over at wiley.com. Say hello to us.
Hmm.
Grab the awesome meditation I have for you
Yep.
over at the Mindful Life app and hang out with us some more. We have another episode coming out, episode 5.
We're going to be talking about building confidence and breaking the stigma.
Oh, big
Let's
stigma.
break it,
Smash.
smash it.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Tamar, I'll see you next time.
It's been fun. We'll see you next time.